Hi everyone and welcome to Niamh's Art Journaling channel. Today we're going to have a flip through of this very chunky art journal. I realised that I haven't actually done a flip through of the first half of this. I've been going through my channel trying to look for it, so I couldn't find it. So this is probably going to be a long video. I'll try and make it as quick as possible. You can always put it on fast forward. So this is one of the original Dina Wakeleys. I started this in July last year. I actually did the very first page in this journal when I got it, which is very unusual for me because it's usually one of the last things I do. So this page using my favourite stencil and using a stencil from Scrap FX. This one's got a video on it. It was to celebrate the, I think it's 50th year last year of the landing on the moon, and I just wanted to document it in some way, and I really loved the quote that we ended up using on this page. These two pages are what they are, using a large focal image. Again, most of the pages in here have got videos to go with them. If you need to know which ones they are, just leave a comment below and I'll link you to where they're actually on my channel. This is working on burlap and putting the tissue paper over the burlap, which I really love to do. These two pages are inspired by Kate Crane, who you'll find on Instagram as the Catherine Wheel. I think she's an English artist. She does beautiful mark making, quirky animals, quirky illustrations, and they're just beautiful. The reason I really love this page was this again is on the burlap and it's sealed with the tissue paper, so by putting the crayons over the top you get this gorgeous texture coming through it. This using a piece out of the Collage Collective. This piece was inspired by James Luke Burke Creative, and again I've got a video of doing this one. I just adored this little creature, and again it was using the distressed crayons, which I have never really used very much, but I really enjoyed how they blended on this page. That was these two are an interesting page. A lot of the next few pages are I did the Bridget Coopson, I think, gel printing challenge last year because I didn't use my gel prints very much. So a lot of these pages are actually using gel prints. This is a multi-print, and you had to draw on your gel plate and then print it off. So you've got the prints in the background and then the image, which while it's very faint, it was a really good technique to have. I can't remember what this one was. I think it was just using masks. This page was inspired by Lisa Oxley and using, you know, she loves to use eyes in her images, so I sort of was inspired by that, using a bit of yellow in here, which again isn't a colour I tend to use very much, as is red. This is doing a magazine collage, and this bit in the middle was using a large focal image from the Collage Collective. My lovely owl. In this journal I have been sort of trying to challenge myself, I don't know, consciously or subconsciously, to use different colours than I usually do. Again, green's not a colour I use very often as a base colour, so I quite enjoyed how that one came together. And you know, a wise person knows whether to say it or not. If you seek wisdom, be silent. So that was reflecting on, you know, stuff that was going on around me at the time, and some people just needed to listen and be wise. This page is my usual, you know, chuck everything on the page, do some mark making, have some fun. This again is on the burlap and again sealed with tissue paper. So same with this page. This was done after I'd done the lesson with Tracy Scott last year on how to draw faces, and it was actually drawing face on a burlap, which is what I was practicing with. Again, there's a video on that, and just trying to do the shading, but I really love the texture that the colour pencils made on the burlap. This is inspired by Tamara LaPont, Willowing, and again the background is all the sort of used up rollers and stuff and leftovers from my gel printing. I did this before I did the faces class, and you can sort of see the difference. So even though this is supposed to be exaggerated and whimsical, I learnt so much by doing a face class, so I'd highly recommend if you can get into a face class or how to draw a face. It's fantastic, and I know with everything that's going on at the moment, Tracy Scott has offered this face drawing class online. I don't know through which company, so if you maybe send either Paper Artsy or Tracy Scott a message, she's pretty easy to find on Facebook, you might be able to trace down that class and do it online. This page was playing around with stencils, just making a mess in the background, and to be beautiful means to be yourself, using one of the pieces out of the Collage Collective. So my favourite colours in the background. It's just a bit of a reflective day. This day I was playing around. I finally purchased the stamp set that goes with the stencil that I adore, so I was playing around with that, and this is using the gloss sprays on some tissue paper. This is an image transfer. I've got a lesson coming up on that on the Artful Academy. So this was for a YouTube blog for December, so again you'll find that on my channel. I just really loved it. It's very sort of country 80ish type style, but I really enjoyed doing that one. This is extending a magazine image. So this is actually the picture from the magazine, and then trying to match up the paint colours to blend it together, and it was a really fun technique. I used to do it a lot when I was travelling. When I used to pick up brochures, I'd sort of stick those into my journal and use my watercolours to try and match it up, but I've never done it with acrylic paint, so that was a lot of fun. This page was done again for the Artful Academy for their current Wellspring program that's going on at the moment, and you can certainly go to the Artful Academy and sign up for that. So this is all about doing a brain dump. So in the background, which you can actually see because I've covered over, it was just me writing, getting all my frustrations out. You can see I've continued on some tags here. It's got on here that's Pandora's box, irrational thoughts, overthinking, resentment, fear, truth, open with care, be warned, because there was a lot that went into this page, but it was very cathartic to do, which is what Wellspring's all about and what art journaling's all about. So how you can, you know, express your emotions, get them out of your system, and then put some pretty art over the top, or not so pretty, but I really like this page. This page is inspired by Inky Quill, Adele Toomey. She did a layout like this a few years ago, and I really liked it. I don't put my family or me into my journals very often, so it's nice to have some photos in here to look at. The next few pages I was kind of on a roll because I really liked the process of it, and I was in the mood that I actually needed to tell myself a few things. So, you know, I've got some quotes that mean a lot to me. So actually I can do it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. That was all about me. You know, I love food. Just because I can eat it doesn't mean I should eat it. So that was a bit of a reminder, but I really love the colours in the background there. And this one as well. Strength grows in the moments when you can't go on, but you keep going anyway. That again has, you know, lots of meaning for me, and when I made that page. This page was done with some Stencil Girl stencils. This video is, I think we're actually over halfway now, so this is sort of the new stuff that I've been doing. This video will be coming up in the next few weeks, and again using that green. I think I finished off a bottle of lime paint, so I had a lot left over in the background and had to do something with it. This is me trying to be scribbly with painting and trying to do it freestyle instead of using stencils or tissues. Again, needs a lot of work. Excuse me. And for this one I was actually trying to paint, not draw it out first, so I've actually used the marine to paint it out, which was an interesting concept for me. This is going back to my usual mark making. You can see it's quite similar to a page further back here. Sometimes I repeat pages and work on them. If I'm, you know, stuck for inspiration, I'll go back and use myself and just redo it, because I know I've done it once, so I can do it again, so it makes it more mindless for me. This was done in sort of a Dina Wakley style. I think I was following one of her face drawing classes or demos, having fun, just using the Stabilo Oil Pencil and some, I think, scribble sticks and maybe watered down acrylics in the background. This day, this quote really says it all. I was empty, I'm exhausted, and I'm unfinished. I just didn't have anything left in me. So that's what went into my journal. This page was inspired by the amazing Megan Wisner Quinlan, and it was from a blog post she put up on Ranger, and it was all about doing these interactive pages. And I had this burlap page sort of stuck in here, which I didn't know what to do, so I actually ended up cutting a little bit out of it, and I really love how it sort of adds to the overall effect of the page. So eyes are the windows to the soul. You can see all the elements, and then you've got the page. So the colours are sort of picked up from the colours in the background, and then the soul that I cut out on the front page I ended up putting on the back page, and I really like how it ties together. And Megan's really great at getting pages that flow in her journal, and I'm really pleased that I've got 4 pages that sort of flow together in my journal as well. So thank you, Megan, for that, and please go and check out her blog posts on the ranger.com site. This is a project that you shouldn't be seeing. It's coming up shortly. This page has got a video on it and something stuck in it. Don't know what that is. It's up to you to see the beauty of everyday things. So using lots of new stencils that I got on this page, and I've been playing around a lot with analogous colours. I do use those a lot in my work anyway, but again, trying not to use the same usual colours. So again, going back to sort of those greens, the marine and the darker colours. This page went up recently, I think, on my site, and it was using the gloss sprays in the background and using big brushes and so on. So just playing around with some new stuff that I'd received from Dina Wakley. This page was inspired by a free class I did by Jen Hall, who goes under Painty Hands on Facebook if you look her up. She loves doing mark making. She does amazing mark making, uses lots of bright colours. The day I did this, it is really, really overworked, but while I was doing that, my mum, in the middle of, you know, us being locked down and our local hospital being shut down because we were a COVID epicenter, started having some heart problems. So she was actually flown by air ambulance to another hospital 2.5 hours away. No one could go with her because obviously all visitors had been locked out of hospitals, so it was only patients who could go in there. So I was sitting doing this, trying to distract myself, and we live right next to the airport, so I was waiting for the plane to take off so I could sort of wave goodbye to her as she flew overhead, which I did, but it ended up being at 12:30 at night, so I kept working and working and working on this just to distract myself. But she's all good now, which is great. So that obviously worked out. These 2 pages were inspired by Dina Wakley when she was doing all her demos. While I love the collage collector, I've never really thought about using it in this way, which is just such a clever thing to do. You know, use a pre-made background. This is a stamped image stamped onto tissue and added onto it, a little bit of washi and a little bit of extra writing on it. So these are really, really quick to do, but they look really effective. So this one again, stamped image, just extended it off. The bits I trimmed off to make it fit into the journal, I've just added on over the top, and a bit of extra writing. So really, really simple, really quick, great way to use your collage collective. This page I did for a live demonstration for picture to page crafts, and the link is, if you go to the community tabs on my channel, you will find the link to this lesson. And it's really quick and easy, just how to collage the background, put some colour down and put some tissue over the top. This page was done after watching Dina's demo on using masks and the alphabet masks, and it was just so simple but so effective. So all you do is put your masks down, whatever masks they are, just use the alphabet masks, and spray over with the gloss sprays, and then just close your journal, rub it down. What happens is your masks will get flipped over. All the excess ink that's on top of them will go onto your other page, and you get 2 pages for the price of 1. So, you know, this is why she gets paid the big bucks, because it was just such a great idea. This is the same image cut in half, and when you put it in 2 halves on 2 separate sides, they look like completely different people, and I love that. So and obviously distance doesn't separate people, silence does, because they look like they're not talking to each other. This page again is sort of inspired by Quinlan. She uses these colours an awful lot in her journals, and I just love them. Marine's one of probably my favourite colours, but I don't use it very often because it's a funny old colour, and I suppose because I don't use greens very often. So now I've started to actually incorporate green into my work. I'm using marine a lot more, which I love. This is the very first page I did for the 100-day project, which I'm currently completing, which is why I've actually, you know, finished this journal. This is inspired by Lisa Oxley. These are images from Michelle Logan, another talented Australian artist, and she does these for Scrap FX, as she does these gorgeous little houses. So these are 2 pages I did for, I think, the Scrap FX design team. So I've got, again, my kids in the little houses, little doors opening. So I like putting interactive elements into my journals. I like putting in pictures of my family occasionally, because, you know, they're important to me, and I like going back and looking over them. And I don't scrapbook very often anymore, so, you know, I'm putting them in where it's important to me. This page is me playing around with lots of new stencils, lots of colour, just going crazy, and then using the Dilutions collage collective over the top, which I really love too. So be a possibilitarian always, which I quite like. This page I did because I was feeling really anxious with lots of stuff that was going on, obviously, and this was me just, you know, having calmed down, using calm colours, using things, telling myself to breathe, just going with the flow. This has got an image transfer in the background. Quite often when I'm sort of anxious or worried about things, I will do things that I need to concentrate on. So I like doing an image transfer where I have to wait for it to dry and rub it off, or doing ridiculous amounts of mark making and so on. So they're mindless things that I don't have to worry about, but that I know they're going to take me time, and it gives me time to process what I'm going through. This page is not finished to me, but I don't know what to do. I probably need to do something underneath, or put something in here. This is me actually playing around with the Tim Holtz distress glazes in the background. I use modelling paste on the burlap, and then I sprinkle the distress glazes over the top. So it gives you a really cool effect. It's a great way to colour on burlap. You just need to be careful not to scorch your burlap. I was using my heat gun too close because I wanted it to melt quickly, and I did scorch it in places. It adds to the aged effect of it, but you know, you probably shouldn't be doing that. And then I've just stapled this down to give it a bit of a flap. This is another page using the collage collective as a bit of an idea, because I had all that modelling paste coming through and I couldn't work out how to hide it, so I just stuck a page over the top using some stamped images again on tissue and colouring them in. This little flappy thing here is a beautiful little card from my arty hero Megan. She sent me some happy mail, and you know, I just had to have some of her artwork in my journal, so thanks Megan. I've got a message there, and her gorgeous doodling. I just love her doodling. It's just so simple, but it's so effective. So this page is using up some old paint and some tissue in the background, and another piece from the collage collective, and just a quick quote on it. So again, if I've got not very much time but I want to do something, this is the sort of page I'll tend to do. When I've got lots of time on my hand and I have no idea what I'm doing, I do this kind of page where it looks like the kitchen sink's thrown up on it. But yes, it is what it is, and I had fun and it distracted me. These pages again, you can sense a theme, I'm sure, are inspired by Megan, her colour, and it's also inspired by Dina Wakley. She was playing around with metallic paints, and she put together a combination of penny and turquoise, which I fell in love with. So I did one of these pages which with it going through. I've got this in the background is the gloss acrylic sprays, which are on this page. That drippy effect is the gloss acrylic sprays, and I just love how those pages work together. This page was done after doing the Dina Wakley Birds of a Feather class, so that's my little birdie I drew. This page is playing around with the collage tissues and the acrylic spray again. These are all, these are all pages, not this one. This one are all pages that are coming up on videos. I've got stuff booked up until October, so you're not going to run out of stuff to watch anytime soon. These are pages done for the Scrap FX design team. So if you go to the Scrap FX YouTube channel, you will find this page and how it's done. This background is one of my collage tissues, so I'm very proud of these. Just have to show off. So that's one of them. It's got my name on the bottom. Oh. So it's very fine tissue that you can use, and they're great for doing this. Again, if you don't have very much time, chuck it down in the background. You've got a collage page done, and then you can put a focal image over the top. Obviously you can do lots of other stuff with it too, but when I don't have much time and I want some colour in the background, it's sort of what I go for. This is using the large images from the Diane Reevely collage sheets, and just adding some extra bits and pieces. So this huge head, which I wasn't sure what to do with, and adding some magazine imagery to it and drawing over the top. Since I found out that, you know, I could actually stencil on these and cut them out and leave pages like this, I'm getting more comfortable with not having to cover my burlap and just leaving them as is. And I really like how this, again, works together. So having that flow through on your page. So this is a cutout from the Dina Wakley Collage Collective. So obviously you can see a bit of difference between Di's and Dina's style, but I've combined, because this is one of Dina Dilution's collage sheets over the top. So you can, you know, use them together and create something crazy. This is another page of, you know, just overworked madness. That background took me for ages to do, and I still don't like it. But I really like how this worked out. I got new flower stamps. I think they're from Vicky Booten. So I made her flower hair and then put the quote in. Here's what it is. This is the page I did after I got my happy mail from Megan, because she sent me these beautiful vintage images and I wanted to put them into my journal, and use the gloss sprays in the background, use colours that Megan uses a lot in her artwork. Tried to do some of her doodling, and you and I are more than friends. We're like a really small gang. I like thinking of you know, all you guys out there as our gang, our arty gang, so we hang out together. This page I had fun doing. It's just the masking and doing it over. However, you can see those lovely white squares there. I actually did this page late at night, was happy with it, posted it on Instagram, and my husband came down and said, "Did you mean to post that?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Go and have a look at it again." I'd written strong on here both times without the R in it, so I went and took it down. Usually if I'm writing with paint pen, I usually pick it up if I spelt something wrong there and then, and wipe away with wet wipe, but no, that was well and truly set after the next day, so I had to think outside the box. But I suppose because it's a focus word, I can get away with it on this page. But yeah, sometimes you just have to stick some paper over with it and deal with it. This page is all about, again, using colour, mark making and having fun. This is a new image from Scrap FX, from Tanya Freud, I think, who's designing these. So again, a different style of faces, that lovely sketchy to go. And again, a lot of the quotes in the next few ones are, you know, just be gentle with yourself, go with the flow. This page was inspired by KP. I think she works for Rubber Moon Company. This is a post on Instagram on the Art Foamy site, and it had a woman like this with, obviously she'd used art foamies in her hair, and I just was so captivated by it. So I don't know if any of you remember that scratch away paintings you used to do when you were a kid. So you'd put down your wax crayons and then paint over it in black and scratch it away. So that's kind of the same thing. I painted over the background with multicolored acrylic paints. I painted over with the dark blue, and then with my wet wipe just wiped away through a stencil. So you get that sort of scratch, fun scratched back look. So I'm obsessed with this Art by Mylene stencil at the moment. I'm using it on everything. This page is actually the last page I've done in my journal. This again is inspired by Quinlan. She again has done another blog post last week on the Ranger website using the stamped image and making a floral crown from the Collage Collective. So I wanted to play with that because I really loved the effect, and I added my little interactive butterfly so you could sort of see behind it and sort of hiding the woman, which I quite like. This page was done after I'd made some cards using the distress glazes, and I fell in love with how easy it was to make a textured background. So I'm actually going to lift this up so you can kind of see. I don't know if you can see that in the light, but there's just all sorts of yumminess going on there. The great thing about the distress glazes is they are a translucent powder, so you can actually see the layers through this. This has got crackle paste in it, it's got grit paste in it. You can see all that stuff through the embossing powder, but it gives you that gorgeous page. This is actually done in an old nappy box with some ideology stuff on it. Usually I would not put something this thick in my journal, but my journal was already bursting at this stage. This is one of the sort of last few pages I did in this journal. But you could imagine doing something like that and putting it on as a plate on the front of a journal, for example, or you could put it into a frame. I just chose to put it on my burlap because that's what you do. Because I had that stuck on there, I used a piece from the Collage Collective just to stick over the top and just a little bit of stenciling over it. Most of that is Dina's work, but it worked with the colours I had on this page, so I was quite happy with it. And this is the last page of my journal. And this is inspired by two artists, Natalie Dax from, Natalie May, sorry, she goes by Happy Dax on Instagram. She had this picture where she'd cut out a profile and then had painting behind it. So I really loved that effect, and I was very brave. I took a side-on profile of myself. I have not shown you the photo because it was not attractive, and be warned, if you do this, you are going to see everything. But it gave me the profile of my face, and I'm really happy that, you know, instead of just cutting out a generic profile, I've actually got a profile that I can recognize. I can recognize my nose, I can recognize my lips, I can recognize my lack of chin here, and that means a lot to me. So over the top with texture paste, I've used the Darkroom Doors Wellbeing stencil. And a lot of the questions I get is, but why do you art journal? So I art journal because it's my well-being, it's my therapy, and it's my joy. This is why I do it, because I can create pages like this. This is inspired by another amazing artist on Instagram called Janet Skaterite, I think. Her work is just phenomenal, and again, it's sort of going back to that mark making, the drips, everything I love, and this sort of represents everything I love about art journaling, as does this. That I chose that word spill on here for a very particular reason, because I do spill into this journal as well. So those 3 pages sort of sum up why I art journal. So that is a very long video. It's a very big journal. You can see I've had to reinforce the spine because it was bursting, but that's another one. So I've got some extra journals here that I have to start filling up, but it's goodbye to this one. It's going to go on the shelf with all my other ones. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.